All right, thank you very much for staying with us, and many thanks to Abir Hussein for this report. Many thanks to our dear guest here in the studio, Dr. Milad Momtaz, the Professor of International Relations, for being with us. So, Dr. Momtaz, Egypt and France, there's a lot of coordination, a lot of ties, strategic ties now, in the political front, in the economic front, in the cultural front, in the academic front, and more. Please talk to us about the history of the Egyptian-French relations, and also about how do you see the Cairo-Paris ties evolving in these days?
I really like, the word that you mentioned about history, because we're not working like in a vacuum. Politics never works in a vacuum. There has to be a backdrop. And the backdrop when it comes to these two countries, I think, it dates back to, I think, like hundreds of years back, and let me, mention, a very crucial incident in history about the French expedition. Maybe some people, they would say that, wow, you're going, back, to more than 200 years. But I'd like actually to shed more light on that very crucial incident, because it has to do with the present. And it has to do with this visit, this specific visit. Let me clarify what I'm saying. Back then, despite the fact that the military nature of this incident was very evident. However, I don't want to focus on the military nature of that expedition. I want to focus on the scientific and culture nature of the French expedition. And I think, most of our, most of our mid-school, middle school students and high school students, I think they started that, in their social studies or history curriculum about, the different contributions of the French as they came to Egypt more than 200 years back. One of them, one of the most crucial contributions we still recall till today, it's about something we call a description of Egypt. Mm-hmm. I don't remember how many volumes. I think it was as many of them, as many of those volumes. And something else that still puzzles me about the French expedition and the contributions, and grammatically speaking, I want to be accurate and specific about this. They have done, I wouldn't put it in past tense, because I still feel that it's still evident. One of such contributions was that, they toured Egypt, north to south, east to west, trying to record everything. Of course, they had cameras, as we have gone nowadays, very advanced cameras and whatsoever. So they had some wonderful, like painters and artists, So, and they pictured everything. They drew everything about Egypt. One thing that stopped me as I was actually, browsing, that wonderful work of the description of Egypt, was that they even pictures, or they drew more rare plains of Egypt, the wild ones. What am I saying that? Because that is the backdrop of that visit. That actually tells everyone and shows everyone that that is a strong background, and even, in history, it's very well known that French, of course, once again, I'm not talking about the military side, I'm talking about the culture side. French, in their colonial pursuit during history, they are different than what the British one. Despite the fact that both of them, they had empires and whatsoever, but the French one, they were different. Culture to the French people is different. The pursuit of culture, getting to know more about others, wanting to establish culture like foundations, if I may, between different nations, I think that is really crucial to them. That's why this visit and the inauguration of a university is, to me, is not just a mere incident or a function or an event. Of course, ribbon cutting ceremony, that would be great, and people there, the press, That's amazing. I wouldn't go against. Of course, it makes sense. However, I'm talking about, okay, digging deep. I want to know more about, okay, what is behind this? What is so crucial about this university? It's not only a French-speaking university. It's much more deeper, much more influential, much more efficient. Because if we know about the name, it has been named after, okay, the former Senegalese president, okay, Leopold Senghor. Okay, and this is crucial as well because that person was one of the most enlightening figures in modern African history. You know, and that word, I want to actually, if you may, I want to actually shed more light on this very specific word about enlightenment. And it means to us, it's about progressiveness. It's about taking, you know, the whole country and the whole, you know, continent into, you know, it's like raising the bar culturally and economically. Okay, and let me put it in a different way. To me, and I think so many people agree with me on this, that the most important driving force in getting any country to take practical, active steps in the direction of development is education. We cannot make it without education.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what we lack. In my mind, once again, that's what we lack in Africa, by the way. Africans, they lack nothing but a way of, I'm talking about like a human capital. We get that. When it comes to economic capabilities, we're really good. We've got, I think it's, in my mind, I need everyone to check what I'm saying about, okay, the latest statistics about Africa and what we've got. We are one of the richest continents in the entire world,
yes.
resource-wise. And when it comes to human capital-wise, we are so rich as well. However, what we are lacking is education, quality education. I insist that I always bring up this, that give Africans quality education, and then you would see this content would be like heavily, okay, like transformed. You know, but give them quality education. That's what we need.
Yeah, and there's something about that university as well, Dr. Momtaz. I mean, we are expecting to have many African students to come to Burj Al Arab in the Senghor University to study in many fields, public health, environment, cultural management, and others. So again, I guess this is yet another proof that Egypt is the gateway to and from Africa, and Egypt is yet again playing a key role in la francophonie. The cultural dimension of those two culturally rich countries, France and Egypt, is very, very important and highlighted, I guess, by the Senghor University in Burj Al Arab.
Okay, a couple of points actually you mentioned. You know, one of them, which I find it as fundamentally crucial, okay, it's about, you know, African students and connecting dots. I'd like to remind people of how crucial Al-Azhar is. Because that's, I know even, you know, that when we call it soft power, we don't really appreciate, no, it is strong power. It's not only soft power. That is the real power. By the way, troops, that's not real power, by the way. That's not long-lasting, by the way. What is long-lasting, what we have been doing when it comes to Al-Azhar. Al-Azhar University, let's take a look at this. You know, and we have students from all around the world studying here in Egypt, and they go back and, you know, the idioms that we use, the word of mouth. You know, they go back, and I think it's more than enough. They talk about Egypt and what they have seen in Egypt. I think that's great. So, and if we try to apply that example, which is so evident throughout history, by the way.
Yes.
If we try to apply that example to that university, the French-speaking university, I think we would have like so many different of those, okay, brothers, the ancestors from the different African countries. They go back to their countries and they talk about Egypt. Okay, something else that you mentioned, it's about the different areas of study there, the different disciplines.
Yes.
And I'd like actually to focus a little bit on that. Why? because, as you mentioned, those areas are non-traditional.
Right. It's not medicine and engineering.
The regular field.
Right.
And
human science is a lot of,
Of course. We should stop and ask ourselves, why that? Why focusing, on such things?
It's the cultural element again you were highlighting.
And if you may, it's something else. Those are the sciences of the future. It's the 21st century sciences. With all due respect to
environment, cultural management, again.
And that's one of them which I think is very crucial as well. So at culture management, maybe some people they would say that, what? I should get my son to study culture management. What are you talking about? And this in the future. Culture management is one of the most important measures in today's world. How to manage this, because once again, that is one of the most important tools. And I wouldn't call it a weapon. I wouldn't call it a weapon, but that is a magnificent tool.
Actually, it's a tool to prevent weapons from being used.
So I know that...
If we know each other, if we really know each other, and if we can have good cultural management, we wouldn't have these...
conflicts.
Just look at the US-Iran conflict, and look at the cultural divide. I mean...
I appreciate, this remark, because it's one of the key reasons. Because they are not standing on the same culture, ground.
And each side is under the illusion that they understand the other, but actually, the Americans know nothing about the Iranians. And it seems also that the Iranians do not understand the Americans, so...
Okay. I do appreciate what you said, but let me go back a little bit to 2001 about what happened in Afghanistan. I bet, that Americans still don't get Afghans, and they don't get the Afghani culture. By the way, it's one of the toughest cultures ever. Toughest in the term that what you need to actually approach them the right way. You need to understand them the right way. They have their own values, and those values are deeply rooted. So derooting such actually values is very difficult. So once again, Africans are very much the same. They do appreciate their values. They do stick to their values. And that's one of the things if we take
And allow me to say, Dr. Momtaz, and you're the expert, may I say that the French do not only appreciate culture, but they understand, they know very well how to manage things culturally much more than the Americans. And this is why we can see that they are closer to many countries in the East or in the South.
Another crucial remark that you have just mentioned. Americans, especially, Mr. Donald Trump, they've been claiming that they are, practical, realistic, which I wouldn't mind, of course. However, you need to value that crucial element, which is culture. Neglecting this element causes so many issues, by the way, and we've been seeing this. Throughout the modern history of North America, starting 1945,
Vietnam,
1950,
Korea.
One of the common things here about such, endeavors or adventures of the North America is that what they have been neglecting the culture element. They don't understand actually people and how they think.
We'll get, of course, again, but I mean, it's hard to be in a 30 or 40-minute episode and not talk US-Iran, so we'll be back to it. But again, back to our main topic. In the cultural field, there is also expectations that the Bibliotheca Alexandrina's new museum library will be open with French support. So there is another
culture element.
And cooperation between, again, Cairo and Paris in this field.
That has been very evident, by the way. It's very, crucial, especially when it comes to the different, like the Library of Alexandria. It's very crucial, especially, the different museums, and this actually once again shows all of us that what culture should be always there. We shouldn't neglect, culture. And actually that takes me back once again to the different fields with different disciplines.
Yes.
That would be taught there.
At the Senghor University in Bourg.
At Senghor University. Because they go hand in hand. We teach them about what, environment and how crucial environment is, and environmental management, how to manage the environment. However, on the other hand, we should help them realize or understand who they are. I insist, who they are. They should, you know, like, in other words, I know maybe some people, they would disagree, but, okay, westernization, we have had enough with this. We have had enough with this. You know, it doesn't mean, by the way, okay, I studied in the United States of America. Okay, you know, and I appreciate some elements, you know, in the education system in the United States of America, especially, you know, in the post-grad, you know, I get all of this. However, on the other hand, you know, which is very crucial, you know, our own values. I want people to understand that what sticking, holding on to your own values, I think that does help, does greatly help. But the westernization, to get fully westernized, A to Z, I think
that will never happen.
Will never happen. I think it has so many side effects, by the way. Maybe it would be glamorous first glance, really attractive, but on the way, if you taking different steps on the way, you realize step by step that what, no, I left something very crucial behind, which is my own identity. And by the way, Egypt has been highlighting this. Okay, that what, yes, we're holding on to our deep values, and by the way, if you don't mind, okay, that takes us to Gaza, by the way. And Egyptians, they're holding on to their values, and one of the most crucial values that what, okay, our what, Arab brothers and sisters, and that has to do with Gaza and the national security of Egypt and Gaza as well.
And France has had, you know, very honorable positions regarding the just Palestinian cause. They played a key role in getting that vote at the United Nations last year in recognizing the Palestinian state, and France believes in the two-state solution. One of the world's leaders, as far as that is concerned. Of course, they share that view with Egypt, that the only solution to the crises, the multiple crises in our region, in the Middle East, is a just end for the Palestinian issue, is justice for the Palestinians. Justice means a viable, independent Palestinian state, applying UN resolutions, and that means borders of June 4th, 1967, with East Jerusalem, Al-Quds as its capital. We'll get to Gaza, we'll get to Lebanon, we'll get to Iran and the US. I don't know how we're going to do all of this in 10 or 11 minutes, but just a couple of other points before we do that. There are always also very nice, there's a very nice relationship between President Macron and President Sisi, and we saw them together in Khan al-Khalili, remember, and it was also very nice to see Mr. Macron visit Al-Arish, and see the and also France having a share and giving a share and a hand in the great Egyptian efforts to try to support the Palestinians in Gaza, especially regarding medical equipment and hospitalization and so on. So there is something special in the relationship nowadays, especially between the two. I mean, the two men.
And definitely, and I'd like to go back to the example that you mentioned about visiting Khan al-Khalili. By the way, Khan al-Khalili is so distinctive, you know, and it's so distinctive to anyone in the world. And actually, let me stress on this: who appreciates culture, who values culture, the one who knows what it means. Especially, you are coming to a country that, you know, holds, I think, we still hold the beacon of civilization. I'm not exaggerating, you know. That's history. You're coming to Egypt, you get that, you understand that. Khan al-Khalili, I still recall the scenes, you know, and I always actually get that kind of vibes. We feel it, despite the fact that we were watching this on TV, or actually, you know, in YouTube, the social media. But, we felt the vibes.
Yes.
And this is, when this gets conveyed, I think that showed that, that the true relationship between the two leaders. And not only the two leaders, the context of Khan al-Khalili, you know, that embraced the leaders. So I think the warmth, you know, it was amazing.
That's Mediterranean warmth as well.
Exactly. I mean, and I would say, in my mind, I don't think I'm exaggerating, the Egyptian warmth. With all due respect to our brothers and sisters in the Middle East, of course, we have so many things in common. But the Egyptian way of doing things, most people around the world that they visit Egypt, they always bring up this, that what, you have different vibes. And actually, you know, they go speechless about this. When we ask them elaborate on this, they go like, we don't know. But you have got something which is so distinctive.
Egypt and France share a lot together. They also share the Mediterranean. There are also growing military ties between the two countries. They both are working on clean energy and green hydrogen. There is cooperation in counterterrorism. There is cooperation in the field of combating illegal migration. Egypt is playing a very good role there. But I have to now to move to the political element of the Cairo-Paris ties. Again, seemingly, Dr. Momtaz, converging on a lot of issues. And allow me to start with Gaza, again, if you will, and with the Palestinian cause. And I had earlier indicated that the French are leading the international community, one of the leaders in the international community, in finding in reaching the two-state solution. The only way, as Egypt always says, the only way to bring about peace, security, and security to the region, because justice must be, Palestinians must be rewarded, and they shouldn't be taken away from their lands. France was agreeing also with Egypt, stand firm, no displacement, no forced displacement from Gaza into Egypt, no forced displacement for Palestinians from their lands. That's a war crime.
Okay, let me start off when it comes to Gaza and the French situation. Let me remind people, okay, after what happened after October 7th. Okay, and this, I think credit goes to Egypt on this. Their stance was different, by the way. I think, you know, everyone has started to call this. And then over time, they realized the reality of the situation, the brutality of the situation, the inhumane techniques and ways and measures pursued by...
The genocide practices by Israel.
Of course.
Yes.
And even they recognized actually the genocide, you know, and okay, the war against humanity. And they became very vocal about this. And that's why Israel has been, you know, heavily criticizing, you know, okay, the French actually in general, and namely the French, okay, president, because he has been vocal about this. He has been supporting, you know, the Palestinians.
And France also spoke about the illegal settlers in the West Bank and about the measures to execute the Palestinians if they kill Israelis and execute prisoners of war, and about Israeli violations against Christians and Muslims in occupied East Jerusalem, Al-Quds. I mean, Paris has been vocal.
Okay, in my mind, as I've said before, okay, it's like Paris has realized, you know, the real situation. It's like seeing the situation that for real, that is the real situation now. And actually, you know, based on that, you know, actual precise realization, they've been taking active steps. Of course, we've been waiting for more. We want more actually steps, you know, but when we see that kind of change in a leading European country like France, a very heavyweight one, I think we appreciate this.
2 minutes, so I have to move to U.S., Iran, and then Lebanon. Now, U.S., Iran, also France wants a peaceful solution to the issue. France rejected Donald Trump's offer to join in Hormuz, and France said it will not join in Hormuz until peace is reached, and it will not join in offensive military operations. And like Egypt, France wants to see a peaceful solution to the crisis. And also Mr. Macron has advised Mr. Trump, if you remember, Dr. Momtaz, not to talk a lot. I mean, I remember Mr. Macron told Mr. Trump, you're talking too much about Iran. And Mr. Trump talks about Iran 20 times a day. So what do you think indeed of the French stance, and how close is it to the Egyptian stance regarding the U.S.-Iran standoff?
Okay, the French stance, I think, is pretty, you know, like rational. Okay, they want to get involved directly because, you know, Mr. Trump, you know, was expecting, you know, the French and the Europeans would be, you know, like very much ready to get involved. Anytime he would give them the signal, the green light. You know, they refused that if they've been assessing that not to get involved. And I think, you know, that rational situation has been positively contributing to de-escalating the situation, because let's imagine otherwise. you know, that, okay, they got involved heavily and now face-to-face with Iran. I think that actually, you know, would have actually resulted in very negative consequences.
Lebanon, that's the final question. Also, how close is the French position to the Egyptian position? France supports 1701 like Egypt.
Okay, both of them, they want very eagerly to bring an end to all of this. But once again, I know that, okay, we have a couple of seconds left. It's Israel. That's the root cause.
Thank you very much, as always, Dr. Milad Momtaz, the Professor of International Relations, for being with us. Always a great pleasure having you. And thank you for watching us. Please stay with Nile TV.